everyone, welcome back. In today's video I wanted to show you behind the scenes sort of how I organize, how I track my usages, how I track all of my makeup, how I go about organizing my entire collection in digital form through a Google Docs file. So if that sounds interesting, then definitely keep on watching. Alright, so what we are looking at first is just the yearly inventory overview. Basically what this is, a couple of years I had started to kind of track my makeup like in the categories and then how many products were in that specific category years ago, and then I kind of fell off and then I tried to pick it back up. So some of these numbers from previous years may be very off just because I was kind of going off of my purchases through the years from going the very first time that I had counted all of my makeup. So I know that the only accurate thing is probably 2021, I believe, which I think I have a really old video of doing that, like going through my makeup inventory. And then of course this year, 2026. This here I have the product type and then I just list it all down below. At the very bottom is the totals. I'm going to go into YouTube ideas, which I'm not going to click on just because I want to keep this kind of private. I have ideas, I'm inspired by people, but also I'm trying to come up with my own kind of unique ideas. Actually go and jump into the Project Pan 2026 tab, which is called PP. I know, a very weird name. But this is all of the project pans that I am participating for this year, and I do it by tables. The first little table is actually the 6 and 2026 ones. So I have all of the products listed, I have my goals, and so I have a drop down arrow, and I will say if I need to finish, if I have a number of uses, if I need to hit pan, or if I need to do no pan left behind. Then I have a goal number just because I didn't know what else to put here, and it just made more sense for the next table that I have. So I don't really worry about that area. And then I have current usages, and I also don't really worry about that. That's more so for the monthly palette challenge or the no pan left behind challenge thing that I start in January and have been doing so the past since January basically. And then I have a status of it, so have I finished that product, am I still working on it, did I declutter it, did I lose it, etc. And that's just what stays there. And then I have project prompt / notes, so this is also pertaining to this one, the monthly palette challenge, as well as my deck of panning. So any sort of notes or things that I need to kind of remember or keep up with, I will write it there. Basically the only notes for this one is just when I pan the item, like the exact date. And then the last column is when the date rolled in. So all of these were rolled in until December. That's when I did like my intro or like official intro video. So that is that table. And then I scroll down to the very big table, which you will see here when I start continuously scrolling. And this is the monthly palette challenge that I started in January and have been doing so for the past 6 months now as of the filming this. Basically how I organize this one is up of the table I have palette, so then I will write what palette I'm using, what is my goal for that one, do I need to finish, do I need the number of uses. It's kind of the same thing rolling back to the previous table, but I mainly focus on either do I need a no pan left behind or have a number of uses. And for my example, Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, I have 2 goals for that one. I want to no pan left behind the entire palette, meaning use every single shade in that given palette, and then I will have a number of uses goal, so use each shade 10 times. That is the only one that has 2 goals. The rest of them I have just no pan left behind goals. And then for my goal number for the Jaclyn Hill palette, I have 35 shades in the entire palette. I want to use them 10 times each, so my goal number would be 350 uses. The next column would be current usage. How I calculate for just all of the other pans, all the other palettes in my collection, the goal number is to use for the no pan left behind all of the shades. So for example, Wet n Wild is a 10 pan palette, so my goal number would be 10, and I write that there. And then my current usage, I will write down how many shades I have used. Every single time I do a look, I calculate at the end of the day. I will go back in my notes, and then I will add them in here. Status, am I still working on that palette for that month, or did I finish that palette for the month? Then the next column is project prompt / notes. This is kind of where I started to keep track of, use the palette for a 4 looks 1 palette, sort of like little mini series I do. I calculate how many looks I've done in a total month, how many shades did I hit my 10 use goal for my Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. So that is where I keep those kinds of notes, but then I like further add on to those notes in my next tab. And then at the end it's just the date rolled in, so I will have January, February, March. Each month I have all of the palettes, and then scroll down all the way until I get to the end here, which is all of the new palettes that I acquired over time that were not set in specific months. There is one palette that is not shown in here because I was able to fit that into one of the other months, are just ones that I'm trying to no pan left behind, just trying to use up. They don't have a specific month that they're in. I just make sure that I'm working on them, using them, and making sure that they get not neglected like the rest of them. And then of course the 4 last palettes you see on here that say hit pan, for example the Revolution one, that is from my decluttered to hit pan series that I started a couple months ago. Then this next table is for my deck of panning, which I participate in again because I participated in 2024 a little late, but I was late and then I completed until the end of the year, and I thoroughly enjoyed that, so I wanted to integrate myself into that project again. So that is here, and that's all of the notes I keep for it. I write down the product, what my goal is, my goal number, my current usage, the status, and then in the project prompt notes, I write what the card I pulled, what was that prompt for, so that way whenever I do my updates, I can go back and specify that, so that way you always know exactly what everything was for, and that way just also helps me. I just like to keep very, very detailed notes. Like, I'm very thorough, very neat, very organized. Like, if I'm not, I will go crazy. So some of these may be a little too much for some of y'all to handle, but this is just kind of how my brain works. And then at the very end column is the date rolled in. And then the last two tables. This top one is my chopping block series palettes, because I realized I didn't have a way to track this or a way to like remember what palettes were in there. So this table, you see I got rid of a palette, I updated Yolin palette, and then my last two palettes that I will use and hopefully update will be not until October. And then the last table is that decluttered to hit pan series on some of my old palettes that I brought back in, and I want to hit pan on them and then officially declutter them because they've actually gotten used and not just neglected because I wanted to neglect them. Then the next tab is my No Pan Left Behind series, which this one has all of the palettes in my collection, including my singles. At the very top, you'll see my total number of palettes is 62, my total number of pans is 829, and my total number of singles is 81. So here I laid out, basically, we'll just look at the first table just because that's how I've pretty much have it organized. And this one, for example, the AOA Southern Charm, I have not used that yet, but I have my notes in there saying that it's in my August Focus palettes. Total number of shades is 3. The shade names don't have any, so I put 1, 2, 3. How many times have I used each shade? Have I actually used it for like the first use? And any notes I want to specify or write down here that I'm like thinking of or need to update y'all or mention or anything. And the last column is total number of uses. My next tab is my whole entire makeup inventory from previous years all up into current. This is basically where I'm at now, how I organize this, and I will just, if you want a more detailed, I just want to quickly go over this just because I don't want to make this video really, really long. But basically how I organize this, on the side here, I have my categories, and then I write what the category is, and then how many number of total I have. So example, when I clicked on it, I have Glow Enhancer, and underneath that I write 4. And then how I organize these is basically just by the brand, and then what's the name of the product, what is the value, would I repurchase it, did I use it up, did I return it, did I declutter it, is it discontinued, just so I can kind of briefly know if I can repurchase it again if I liked it that much or not, and then do I have any extras in that category, or that specific product. And then as you see here, like I didn't mention as well, underneath each category I have a used up cost, a decluttered cost, and then did I gain money in that one? So like, am I actually using up the money, or am I losing money in that category? So I don't know, that was just kind of an interesting thing for me to kind of just see and like really like eye opener for me. The next tab, I'm not going to go into it, I also have a collection or inventory for my lashes, for my tools, for skincare, as well as for candles. These are just like little things I like to keep track of. And then I will show y'all, basically here at the bottom I have my expenses and empties tabs from 2024 when I started to track them, but I'll just click on empties, how I like to organize that. So we'll go into 2024 as a little example. So in 2024, how I organize this sort of like table, so to speak, I have the month it was used up, I have the brand of the product, what is the name of that product, what was the value, and then how many I used up, because sometimes I do have multiples, sometimes like mostly in skincare. At the end here is tables, and it is the empties total by month, so I calculate every single month how many totals or how many products I used up in each month, just kind of see like what months was I more successful, what months was I lazy, and like, I don't know, just number wise I just think it's kind of a little fascinating. And then my next table is just at a quick glance the total used up cost for each month. So in 2024 I used up $578 worth of products, which is so good. Like, I love that. I love seeing that number high. And then I also do calculate my expenses. So same format, month purchased, the brand, the name, the value, number purchased. And then this one also adds an extra column if it's gifted or not. So if I receive it in like a PR, or if a family member or friend bought it from me, I don't count that just because I didn't buy it. Do the same thing, products by month and expenses by month, and that's how I keep track of that section basically. So, and that is how I like to track my makeup. I hope this was fascinating to you if you're into numbers, if you're into just seeing visuals of things, or just like to, you know, keep track of something. Let me know in the comments down below. I'd love to chit chat with you there, and as always, have an awesome rest of your day and or week, and I will see you in my next one. Bye bye, guys.